When we're caught in those loops, we go into the negative operating system with words like I can't, won't, shouldn't, it'll never happen. We even sabotage ourselves. Have you ever heard somebody, or you were going out with friends, where do you want to eat? Anywhere but Italian. Well, that leaves a lot of things open. That's a negative operating system. But if you can start honing in on the positives, what do you want? Well, I would like tacos, and I would like tacos from Mariano's. It's the more specific you can get. I know that's generalized, but if you can put what you're going through in those scenarios, what do you want? Not what you don't want. I don't want a bad day. I don't want this to happen again. Okay, what do you want? Because when you say what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want. The real supervillain is work-life balance. The fact that we just don't have it anymore. With technology, with the way we are prone to work 24/7. We can get a text from friends or coworkers at any time. Our computers are just a moment away from opening it and starting work again.
Is something standing between you and your happiness? It was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal, and I want to share that with you. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor BetterHelp support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today.
As a teenager, I decided to live better, so I gave up the meat, eggs, and cheddar. At 20 and 30, I wanted more, so I strengthened my mind and my core. Living a life that is healthier and wealthier because I choose health.
Welcome back to the I Choose Health podcast. I'm your host, Stefan Lessie. From Navy diver training to leading at Disney to running Chicago's #1 entertainment company, today's guest seemed unstoppable. But then a single medical mistake stripped it all away, leaving him in a hole so deep that reinvention was his only way out. He calls himself the Flip Flop Philosopher. And today, he's here to show us how flipping your thinking can flip your life. Please welcome to the show, Dave Blake.
Hello, everybody, and hello, Stefan. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for being on. That Dave, when I read your story, I know originally, you wanted to maybe have like a meeting first to just see if your story would go with our podcast. And once I read your story, I'm like, absolutely it goes with our podcast because your story is one of resilience. And to me, it starts like a highlight reel. Navy diver training, professional development at Disney, building a powerhouse business. It sounds like a dream career. Then life was at its peak. Did you ever imagine it could all collapse in an instant?
No, we never expect those things, in the back of our minds. They're always there. I never took life for granted, but I certainly didn't expect what happened. Life has its ups and downs, and things come and go. I had already started my business by the 2008 financial crash. You kind of think those things are behind you, but you never know what's happening in life. There are no guarantees.
Yeah, definitely. Now, looking back now, what was driving you in those days? Ambition, passion, or was it something else?
Prior to the incident, it was definitely passion. I loved what I was doing, as I do now. But, throughout life, you have careers and things that you do that don't exactly drive you. But at that time, it was ambition. It was passion. It was loving what I did because I got to entertain and bring a smile to other people's faces.
And from that point, everything flipped. And it wasn't because of a choice you made, but it's because of a medical mistake. Take us into that day. What exactly happened that changed everything?
Well, about 2 days before Christmas, I had my first day off in nearly a month with back-to-back holiday events. You know the day when nothing's getting you off the couch, the bathroom seems a little too far away, and you would pay anything for food delivery to come in and set up right in front of you. You're not moving. And then the dog gives you that look, followed by the door dance, and it's time to take her out. I looked at my wife, she looked at me, and I got my shoes and coat and took the dog out. But it was snowing and icy, it was Chicago. And I slipped on the ice that day and broke a small bone in my ankle. Now, had anybody been watching, I would have been viral on TikTok or social media for sure. I can't imagine the dance I did. But that hole in the snow became an avalanche because that tiny break and it landed me in surgery 2 weeks later where they put a plate in my leg, but that wasn't the issue. I actually got a recalled drug in surgery, and when I came out, I was like a drunken college student at Mardi Gras. I couldn't hold myself up. I was slurring my words. Things weren't right. My wife noticed it right away, but the doctors didn't. They said, it's the anesthesia, go home, you'll be fine tomorrow. Well, the next day got worse. By day 3, it was even worse.
It's interesting because I believe that medical mishaps usually account for a good majority of deaths that happen in the hospital. And it's just something where, it's really important that the system really gets those things correct in terms of, procedures like that things go well. And I want to know from you what you were feeling when you became aware that this was a medical mishap and not something that just naturally occurred.
I was feeling it by day 2. Like I say, my wife noticed right away. She said, something's wrong. He's not right. The doctors insisted it's the anesthesia. But when I've had other surgeries and I knew what to expect, and I wasn't getting better, and I was falling over in the chair. It was just too many symptoms, too many issues going on that I noticed it pretty much right away.
Now, you said that you found yourself in a hole so deep. How dark did it really get for you? Did you ever feel like life wasn't worth continuing?
Yes, to all of that. It got very dark. There were times when I just prayed it would stop, that I would take the pressure off of my family, my wife, that things just didn't look like they could get any better. For a while, they just kept getting worse. And on top of that, I lost friends, family, work. Friends and family just couldn't see those new changes in me. And many of them I've never seen again. Which is, I'm looking back, was a good thing. Because they weren't right in my life to begin with. And it took something that big to realize that was the case. But, the doctors weren't helping. They were trying to name it. They thought I had a stroke. They thought it was Parkinson's. They thought it was ALS. At one point, the Mayo Clinic gave me 4 months to live. And once you hear that, it kind of takes all the hope away. It takes the forward motion. Hey, I'll get better. No, they're an expert, and they just said I'm going to die. and there's nothing I can do. So yeah, you start thinking pretty dark.
I wonder how crippling that felt, right? Because when you go through something like that, you expect, like, well, I got my family and friends around me, I'm going to be fine. And then you start noticing, like, well, I'm losing that support as well. How did that feel in terms of, did it feel like it helped to empower you? Did it feel like at first, this is something that I need people to get through, and since I'm not able to get through this, maybe I'll just, like, how did that feel processing all that?
You go in waves. One day you think, oh, this'll pass. I feel pretty good. Or you see that, well, I can do this. So tomorrow I'll be able to do something else. The dark sides come, and you wish those family members were there. You wish. The good thing I had was my wife never backed down. She never thought for a moment this was permanent. At least she never let on to me. And that really helped drive me on those dark sides, on the downsides. But it really took, after being told I had 4 months to live, I was in Chicago. Winter was coming back around, and I didn't want to be there for my death. So we gave away everything we owned and packed the car, moved to Florida, and if I'm going to die, it's going to be in the sunshine and not in the freezing snow. And it was there and that moment of deciding I want something different that really started that change, that I was able to see maybe there's more possibilities. The goals started lining up. Well, I want this before I die, and I want that, and I never got to.
It's interesting that you said that, because I remember speaking to David Atkins a couple weeks ago, and we were sharing. I shared on that particular episode. The reason why I call this podcast the I Choose Health podcast was it was actually me saying I choose me, because I was also in a similar headspace. I was in a place where I thought suicide was the best option or the only option. And, I realized that, like, no, I have to live for myself. I have to live for my family. I'm going to choose me. And so that's where I came up with the name I Choose Health. It's from that came this podcast with the different episodes on resilience. And, you've definitely shown a lot of resilience. And you said that, most people don't climb out of that kind of darkness, but you did, and you call it flip flop thinking.
Correct.
What was the moment when you decided, I'm not done, I'm going to reinvent my life?
Well, I think it was, as I said, that decision to move somewhere else, that seeing that there was some other way, even in that short time, there was something else that could bring me joy. There was something else that was better than where I was. And again, the people that I was surrounded with, those so-called friends and family that should support you, they were negative. They were buying into this is it and making the problem worse instead of trying to lift the situation or find an outlet. They used words like broken, gimped, blight on society. What are you going to do? And getting out of that scenario, getting away from those negative thoughts gave me more time. And I had sunshine. I had beautiful sunsets. I was no longer around those people that were seeing the end, so it allowed me to start seeing a future.
You didn't just rebuild your life, but you turned that pain into purpose. And how did you go then from personal tragedy to teaching over 400,000 students at the Broward County School Shooting?
One step at a time, one fall at a time, and then get up and do it all over again. It was truly that, having goals that could get me up every time I fell, having something to look forward to. During my recovery, I fell so many times. I broke both arms 5 times, at least. I broke many ribs. I crushed my face from falling. But I wanted that life. I wanted that. It's kind of like a child who wants a cookie, but they can't walk yet. Suddenly, they find a way to prop themselves up, and they move for that cookie, and they fall. They cry, they get up again, and they keep trying because they want that object. That was me. I wanted to be back on stage. I wanted to have that life, and being stripped bare of everything, my money, my health, my abilities. I was working at about 70% of what I was. And yet I was able to now create that life by design because there was a blank canvas. I was able to see what I truly wanted, not what other people wanted for me, not what life was gearing me up for because life stripped it away. So now I could see what was in front of me that I truly wanted. And in that time, I fell off stage 3 times. But I was, in doing so, because I got up in front of the crowd, they cheered me on. And they cheered as I got back on stage and continued. And that's what I think we need in our lives. Somebody to cheer you on when you fall. Whatever it is, business, health, anything. We need somebody in our corner that's going to cheer us on. And that starts when we do it ourselves, when we get up and we take that step forward. Then others can see it's possible too.
Can you, I guess, dive into that relationship between the work that you're doing with students and the rural county school shooter?
Yes, because while it was somebody else's program that I was working on, I was brought on by the Sandy Hook Promise Group, and they knew my background and my background in innovation, my background on entertaining, and they needed somebody that could train in an upbeat manner. But it actually worked out that I had a limp while I was on stage because the students could relate a school shooting to this guy who limps and he's got this strong message.
Now, you work with prisoners, students scarred by gun violence, and Fortune 500 leaders. What do they all have in common when it comes to resilience?
Each other. They all need somebody else to succeed. All of us have a disability, a flaw, a challenge, whether it's somebody that was incarcerated, whether it's somebody walking down the street next to you, or a corporate leader. We all have things that we can't do, and we need somebody else's help, or we need a tool to do it. Whether we can see that flaw or not, we all have them. And sometimes they're more in our own head, in our own way. But those, I would say that's the biggest factor that all of those things you mentioned have in common, is they need each other. They need somebody else.
Now, I know that you've developed frameworks that shake people away from stress to success. And you said even stress relief has become a source of pressure. How are we stressing ourselves out even when we try to de-stress?
It's more of the unknown. We, as a society, don't teach stress relief, it's becoming more acceptable. And when you don't know something, it puts more pressure on. We've all had somebody say, just calm down. Well, that doesn't calm you down. It makes you more upset or more aggravated. And that's where, even in corporate programs, when they say, we're going to have a wellness day, well, there's that pressure. I don't know what I'm doing. It's uncomfortable. Until you understand it, until you make it more acceptable as a whole, instead of just a one day, or telling somebody, you need to meditate. Well, show me how.
I know you call stress a supervillain. What's the most dangerous lie we believe about stress and burnout?
Well, there are a couple of lies actually, but the real supervillain is work-life balance. The fact that we just don't have it anymore. With technology, the way we are prone to work 24/7. We can get a text from friends or coworkers at any time. Our computers are just a moment away from opening it and starting work again. So not having that break between work and life, there is no balance. And we are telling ourselves that it's okay, I like it this way. But the reality is our bodies are not able to accept that. And I would say the biggest lie is we tell ourselves it won't happen to me, or I can handle it, or I'll get to that later, maybe tomorrow.
So I know you believe that the biggest obstacle in someone's life is often their greatest opportunity. How do you convince someone drowning in pain to believe that?
Well, to be honest, when they're drowning, it's very hard. As I said earlier, there are so many ups and downs in those moments. It's hard to believe even things you see in front of you. And that's where your support system comes in, to cheer them on and throw them a life preserver. Help them find their goal and help them get through today so they can start tomorrow and they can see the next day in front of them. When you don't have that support, it's 10 times harder. And I know a lot of your listeners are dealing with that. They don't have that support. So what I can say for them is just get through today and start looking at, take the pressure off. That's why I say get through today. Try and find something that brings you joy in today, in this moment, and take that step forward. When you can do that and breathe, breathing is very important. We hold our breaths. It affects our brains. It affects our neurology. And it's when we get caught in that loop, those thoughts keep coming back, the negative thoughts. And I talk about positive operating system and a negative operating system. When we're caught in those loops, we go into the negative operating system with words like, I can't, won't, shouldn't, it'll never happen. We even sabotage ourselves. Have you ever heard somebody, or you were going out with friends, where do you want to eat? Anywhere but Italian. Well, that leaves a lot of things open. That's a negative operating system. But if you can start honing in on the positives, what do you want? Well, I would like tacos, and I would like tacos from Mariano's. You know, it's the more specific you can get. I know that's generalized, but if you can put what you're going through in those scenarios, what do you want? Not what you don't want. I don't want a bad day. I don't want this to happen again. Okay, what do you want? Because when you see what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want. The world doesn't understand what it is you're trying to do, so it throws everything at you until you finally break and say, I just wanted a blue cup. Get that specific. Get that granular. Start painting the picture in your mind that you can see clearer and clearer. And the more details you put in there of what you do want, the more you can see the outcome, and your body and brain will start to find those outcomes.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, even neurology is finding that your brain can't really tell the difference between what's positive, what's negative. So if you keep telling yourself the negative stuff, your brain's going to take that all in. So, why not just overload your brain with as much positive reinforcement as you can?
Exactly. And your brain can't tell a photo from the reality. So if you paint a picture, it's how people in prison get through those situations. They can see the outside. They've painted that picture of what it will look like when they get out. Same thing in a hospital bed. When somebody's in the hospital for a prolonged time, if you can imagine walking through that field that you remember, smelling those flowers, the more you can create that image. Same is true if you're having a good day, but you want a new car. What kind of car? What color? Where will you go in that car? Who will be affected if you get that car? Think granularly, and the more details, the further you can go and come out of that hole.
Now, at the center of this, at the center of all of this, you call it outrageous humanness. What does outrageous humanism really mean? And why is it the key to living a life by design?
Outrageous humanness is the interactions you and I have had, that smile, that little bit of kindness, helping somebody else out. I live by a mantra of be the person you wish was there for you. And if we can just shorten the path for somebody, hold the door open, give them an introduction, or just make their day a little less stressful than it already is. Say their name. Be a good customer to customer service. When you walk in somewhere and you've had a bad day, they probably have too. I say you are responsible for the energy you bring in a room. And if you bring good energy in, it may bounce off of whatever they're going through, but it also may turn them around. Negative energy always bounces back in a negative way. So bring that happiness, bring that joy, bring that energy in the room with you, and treat people the way you want to be treated.
Now, if someone's listening right now and they feel like their compass is gone, what's the very first small goal they should set today to start climbing out of that hole?
Breathe. I can't say that enough. Breathe. Take a moment and identify what is that hole. So often we think it's things that it's not. What we think there are obstacles in our way that are really not there. Take the moment to separate and what is the actual problem, and determine what's good on your ship. What tools do you have? What talents do you have? What capabilities? If in my situation, I could speak, it just wasn't very understandable. But I couldn't stand up and grab a weight to do therapy, but I could ask somebody to bring it to me. What tools do you have that you can use? And then, number 2, start looking, as I said, where do you want to be? What is the life you want to design? And create or think of something that will get you out of bed every day. Think of something that will get you to take that step forward today. If you can take one step forward today and one step forward tomorrow, even when you're mired in other things, one step. Don't put the pressure on, I have to do it all, or I need to get to the end result. Chunk it down and take one step forward today. And tomorrow you might be able to take 2.
Well, thank you, Dave. And I know that if people want to work with you and find you, I believe they can go to flipflopphilosopher.com.
Correct. And I've got a series that I did of videos on YouTube. You can go to @Flip Flop Philosopher on YouTube. And there's a 21-day challenge that I did that while I was doing it, other people joined me. And they told me that they wrote a book, they learned to cook, they learned languages, or they implemented things at work that they hadn't done before. So check out those 21 days, and hopefully it'll help you in whatever you're walking through.
I will definitely post those links in the description so you guys can get access to those 21 days, and as well as his site. And as well, I think you are on social media as well.
Correct. Pretty much you can find me at the Flip Flop Philosopher on any of social media.
So we'll post those in the description and in the video as well. Well, Dave, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's definitely inspirational just to see where you can come from being at a point where you feel physically crippled to then even feeling emotionally crippled, and then still be able to take those small steps to climb out of that hole and say, you know what, I'm going to be more, I'm going to become what I want to become. And, it's definitely inspiring to hear you share that with us today.
My pleasure. Hopefully you can all create the life by design that you desire.
Well, guys, this is your host, Stefan Lessie, just reminding you that choosing health is about choosing power, possibility, and purpose.
Welcome to week 26 of 52 Choices. We're talking about movement snacks. Sitting for long periods slows metabolism, tightens muscles, and raises risk for heart disease, diabetes, and even premature death. You don't need an intense workout to counteract it. Short bursts of movement throughout the day make a big difference. Try this. Once every hour, take a 5-minute movement snack. Walk around the room, stretch your legs, do squats, or march in place. A 2023 study in Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise found that just 5 minutes of light walking every 30 minutes reduced blood sugar spikes by 60% and blood pressure by 4 to 5 mmHg. Other research shows these micro breaks boost mood, focus, and energy. This week's choice is to set a timer to stand, stretch, or walk for 5 minutes every hour. Small, consistent movements keeps your body active even on your busiest days.